Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you updates and hidden narratives surrounding Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the royal family. We're thrilled to present today's developing story. Meghan stuns Harry by revealing Lilibet's face, confirming growing talk of a marriage crisis. Meghan Markle has now gone directly against the strongest and most passionate public plea Prince Harry has ever expressed by unveiling their daughter's face to the entire world. With that single move, his long-standing campaign for privacy appears deeply compromised, exposing what may be a profound and irreparable fracture at the core of their relationship. Right now, we are examining the tension that has reportedly unfolded behind closed doors, and why this particular image could mark the beginning of something far more serious. The Valentine's Day post carried the polished casualness so common among modern celebrities, presenting itself as a heartfelt moment shared with millions. In the photo, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, stands beside his daughter, Princess Lilibet. For the first time, her face is clearly visible in such an open, public, and globally accessible setting. The caption, written by Meghan, read, "These two plus Archie, you never get photographed, clearly equal my eternal Valentines." The intention seemed simple: spark engagement, display affection, and offer a digital embrace. Yet behind the soft filter and sentimental tone, something far more explosive had occurred. A boundary wasn't merely crossed, it was erased entirely. And in doing so, Meghan Markle may have exposed the most significant fault line beneath the foundation of her marriage. This was not an ordinary photograph. Only days earlier, Prince Harry had delivered an emotional and deeply personal speech advocating for children's online safety, nearly breaking down as he spoke. His warning to parents around the world carried unmistakable urgency. Speaking with visible weight and conviction, he urged, "You should be very, very frightened, concerned, and cautious about posting images of your children online. You should be extremely careful, truly troubled, about sharing photos of your kids." He spoke of the unchecked expansion of artificial intelligence and accused technology companies of diminishing the value of children's lives. For Harry, this has never been a matter of preference or lifestyle choice. It is a moral crusade central to his identity. After stepping away from royal life, he cast himself as a protector in the digital age, battling what he viewed as a dangerous online machine threatening children worldwide, a modern warrior prince confronting a technological dragon. And then his own wife shared that photograph online. The contradiction struck swiftly and sharply, leaving both the public and commentators stunned. One observer bluntly remarked to the prince, "Go speak to your wife." And in effect, she had done exactly that through her actions. Now, the image is out in the open. The face is visible to everyone. The shift is undeniable. To fully grasp the magnitude of this moment, one must understand the psychology behind Prince Harry's long war against intrusion. This is not a new conviction. It is rooted in the defining trauma of his life, shaped in the crucible of losing his mother. To Harry, the camera lens is not neutral. It is an adversary. The click of a shutter echoes like the bolt of a rifle. He has long maintained that relentless paparazzi pursuit directly contributed to the fatal Paris crash that claimed Princess Diana's life, a belief he has defended through years of costly legal battles. In his view, there is no clear line between public curiosity and harassment that leads to tragedy. What once played out on the streets of London has, in his eyes, migrated to the servers of Silicon Valley. Social media, to him, is simply a more subtle and far-reaching extension of that same predatory force, one that now invites danger directly into the home. This worldview reached its peak in the speech he delivered only recently, a speech that now stands in stark contrast to the image shared with the world. This was a definitive declaration, leaving no space for interpretation or subtlety. He was not calling for moderation or balance. Instead, he was outright rejecting the act of sharing children's photographs online altogether. He framed it as a failure of parental duty and a direct danger to those too young to protect themselves. Even though this stance placed him at odds with millions of parents worldwide, it was at least a principle he upheld consistently and passionately. It was in every sense a hill he was willing to die on. Therefore, Meghan's Instagram post is not merely inconsistent. It stands as a public dismissal of the very belief her husband has championed. In contrast, the traditional royal model offers a more structured approach. For over a decade, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, have carefully navigated this delicate terrain by establishing a balanced and respectful social contract. They recognize that their children, as future heirs, naturally attract national interest. To manage this, they release a limited number of carefully selected and professionally taken photographs on birthdays and milestone occasions. By doing so, they retain control of the narrative while satisfying public curiosity. In return, the British press has largely honored an unspoken agreement not to intrude upon the children's private lives. The arrangement rests on mutual responsibility and measured privacy, but it is also transactional. Before stepping away from royal duties, Harry and Meghan made it clear they did not wish to participate in that system. They sought total privacy instead. Yet by sharing this image, they appear to be pursuing something else entirely, not privacy but control. The ability to turn the spotlight on and off at will, to present their children when it benefits public relations, while simultaneously pursuing legal action against media outlets for perceived invasions of privacy. Media analysts have noted that such a position is difficult to sustain and risks appearing deeply hypocritical. As one senior public relations expert observed, you cannot warn the world about the dangers of exposing children online on Thursday and then use your own child's face to generate social media engagement on Saturday. That erodes credibility entirely. Once that credibility is compromised, the campaign itself begins to lose meaning. Beyond the public contradiction lies a more troubling private narrative. Reports from outlets such as the New York Post have described Harry as deeply unhappy, allegedly living in near isolation within their Montecito residence. Sources close to the couple have long suggested that their marriage has been under significant strain. According to individuals familiar with the situation, this latest episode is not a minor disagreement, but a detonation along the central fault line of their relationship. That fault line reflects a fundamental tension. Harry's longing for withdrawal and protection, shaped by trauma, versus Meghan's pursuit of public relevance, driven by ambition. For Harry, relocating to California was meant to be an escape, a chance to live a quieter life, away from flashing cameras and from an institution he believes failed to shield both his mother and his wife. For Meghan, however, visibility is not a weight to carry, but a resource to cultivate. As a former actress and lifestyle influencer, public presence is an asset. Relevance is her currency. In the intensely competitive ecosystem of Hollywood and global celebrity, invisibility can mean irrelevance. Maintaining a strong public profile is essential not only for financial independence, but also for sustaining their Archwell brand and broader ventures. Insiders claim that publishing Lilibet's photograph crossed a boundary Harry had drawn as absolute. For him, the privacy of his children was non-negotiable. Yet within the dynamics of the Sussex household, where Meghan is widely viewed as the strategic force, and, according to some reports, the primary earner, his objections may ultimately have been overruled. Those within their inner circle suggest the decision to release the image illustrates who truly steers the relationship. Meghan's objectives, strengthening her brand, cultivating positive sentiment, and shaping their public narrative, appear to have outweighed Harry's deeply personal convictions. The result is a stark psychological portrait of the prince, a man who relinquished his royal role, distanced himself from his homeland, and surrendered military honors, all in the name of protecting his wife and children. He has sacrificed everything, believing it was all in the name of protecting them. In his mind, he was leading his family towards safety, toward a refuge far removed from the dangers he had always feared. Yet instead of sanctuary, he now appears confined within a different kind of gilded cage, one where the demands of brand building pressure him to compromise the very principles he once fled to defend. He stands suspended between the trauma of his past and the commercial expectations of his present. Relationship experts frequently warn that when core values fundamentally clash, a marriage begins to erode. It transforms into a constant negotiation shaped by opposing anxieties. As one prominent couples therapist explains, when one partner's deep-rooted need for security collides directly with the other's essential drive for validation and achievement, the union becomes a continuous balancing act. This is not a minor disagreement. It is a struggle between two survival instincts. Over time, such tension can foster resentment and emotional distance that quietly widens the gap between partners. The peaceful Instagram image of a father and daughter conceals a far more turbulent reality. Beneath the polished surface lies a marriage strained by two forces pulling in opposite directions. The photograph, while serene, may actually represent something much more chaotic behind the scenes. For longtime royal observers, an additional and more troubling undertone has begun to emerge, one that intensifies the controversy. At the heart of it is the perceived and ongoing sidelining of their son, Prince Archie. The caption itself, "Archie, you never get photographed," apparently, was interpreted by many not as a playful aside, but as a revealing admission. Over recent months, a noticeable pattern has developed across Meghan's public statements and social media presence. Lilibet increasingly appears at the center of the narrative. She is portrayed as the focal point, the shining figure in carefully curated releases. Archie, the elder sibling, often seems secondary, appearing far less frequently. To some observers, that imbalance raises uncomfortable questions. As a result, speculation has surfaced suggesting that Meghan may be applying a distinctly Hollywood framework to her royal children, positioning one as the more marketable figure. While this notion is undeniably unsettling, it continues to circulate. In American celebrity culture, children are often viewed as integral components of a family's broader brand identity. The Kardashian family and numerous global influencer households exemplify this model, where charm and visibility translate directly into engagement and influence. Many believe Meghan may be, consciously or unconsciously, shaping Lilibet as the future face of the Sussex identity. As a young princess born in the United States, she carries symbolic weight for a global audience. She embodies a narrative that bridges royalty and American celebrity culture. Archie, by contrast, bears a closer physical resemblance to his Windsor father, and may evoke the very British royal legacy his parents have publicly distanced themselves from. His appearance and associations subtly connect him to the institution they chose to leave behind. Commenting on this distinction, Brittany of the Royal News Network offered a pointed observation. It's disheartening that Archie appears largely absent from Meghan's Instagram. The focus seems centered on Lily. Archie's appearances are rare, and when they happen, they feel limited. I feel for him. Some critics argue that Meghan's public messaging suggests clear preferences, whether intentional or not. The potential consequences of such perceived favoritism are serious. Child psychologists caution that elevating one sibling within a public narrative can strain sibling bonds and deeply affect a child's sense of worth and identity. Such dynamics can damage not only the bond between siblings, but also the children as individuals. Each child carries a different weight. One may internalize feelings of exclusion and inadequacy, while the other bears the pressure of constant performance and expectation. Both in their own way are forced to navigate the emotional consequences of public comparison. Because of this, Critics argue that revealing Lilibet's face represents the first decisive step toward commercializing her image. They see it as a calculated effort to elevate her public profile, to make her recognizable, admired, and ultimately valuable to the broader Sussex brand. In doing so, a private child is transformed into a public-facing figure, accessible to a global audience. That shift, they say, is profound. For Harry, who has openly spoken about the pain of growing up as the spare, witnessing his own children positioned as either star or afterthought must be deeply unsettling. The hierarchy he once resented appears to be re-emerging within his own household. This time, however, it is not dictated by centuries-old rules of succession, but by the unforgiving mathematics of social media metrics. It is a system he once tried to escape, yet now seems unable to avoid. Meanwhile, the Sussex public relations apparatus has moved swiftly into action. Faced with mounting accusations of hypocrisy, their team attempted to recast the entire narrative. A spokesperson, speaking to journalist Tom Sykes, insisted there was no contradiction. According to this view, advocating for safer online spaces can coexist with sharing carefully selected, controlled images of one's children. Privacy, they argued, is about choice and agency, not total invisibility. They maintain that this position has long defined their approach. In effect, this reframing sought to reinterpret Harry's earlier fire and brimstone warnings as a more measured and nuanced stance. It was in many ways a textbook example of crisis management strategy. Yet the public record remains difficult to reconcile. The explanation appears to many observers as a complete reversal of previously stated beliefs. Harry's earlier remarks were not layered with nuance or ambiguity. They were delivered with urgency and conviction. He expressed unequivocal concern about the act of posting children's faces online without carving out exceptions or conditional allowances. His tone was not that of a lifestyle commentator offering guidance. It was that of a man sounding an alarm. Those who watched his interview last year recall the absence of gray areas. As one commentator bluntly summarized, there was no middle ground in his message. If you post images of your children on social media, you expose them to potential harm. That was the essence of his argument. To suggest otherwise now feels, to critics, like an attempt to revise history. The rapid repositioning reflects not necessarily a shift in principle, but rather a pattern in operational strategy. It conveys a confidence, perhaps even an assumption, that their narrative is whatever they declare it to be at any given moment, and that audiences will overlook clear inconsistencies. Such an approach, however, risks underestimating both the intelligence of the public and the permanence of the digital record. This is a strategy that demands careful reflection. By attempting to talk their way out of the controversy in a manner critics describe as gaslighting, they have only intensified the crisis. Rather than diffusing the backlash, the response has reinforced perceptions of dishonesty and inconsistency. A single decision, after all, can carry consequences that stretch far into the future. Prince Harry's standing as a leading advocate for online privacy has taken what many see as lasting damage. When his own household appears to disregard the very principle he urges others to adopt, it becomes difficult to imagine him addressing grieving parents or lecturing technology executives with the same authority. The credibility that once strengthened his message now stands weakened. His critics, along with media organizations he is already battling in court, are likely to cite this episode as definitive proof of hypocrisy. For them, it serves as enduring ammunition, reinforcing claims they have long advanced. Beyond reputation, a more troubling pattern emerges for their children. Archie and Lilibet are growing up in an environment where the boundaries around their privacy seem subject to the shifting demands of brand strategy. The rules governing their visibility appear fluid, shaped less by fixed principle and more by public relations calculation. The promise of a quiet and protected upbringing in California has, to some observers, given way to a reality in which they function as carefully managed yet increasingly contradictory elements within a broader public narrative. The fortress of privacy Harry worked so diligently to construct was not breached by paparazzi, but by a voluntary act from within. And now, as those protective walls show signs of fracture, the world watches closely, not only to see what becomes of his public mission, but whether his marriage itself can withstand the strain. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts below, and goodbye for now.